in talking to some agents recently, people think that I mean, it is super competitive out there at the moment because there's low stock levels everywhere.
Mm.
But I think agents let that psych them out a little bit in terms of they think it's so competitive, so they won't bother calling back.
Mm. Mm.
Whereas in actual fact, if everyone's thinking like that, the person who actually does make the call back is the one that wins the listing.
Look, it's true. I can give you a series of examples that have occurred to me over the last 48 years, and one in particular really stands out for me. And I teach our salespeople and principal this. I got a call from an office to come and run an action meeting for them. And that action meeting was about 6 hours away in a country town where the organisation was located. And so I drove up in my fancy new car, and the night before, and on the way up, I hit a wombat, which took a bit of damage out of the front of my car. It was still drivable, but it wasn't a very pretty looking car anymore. And the next morning I get to the office and I rock in, and the principal there, lovely guy, feet up on the desk, RM William boots, and we were running a little action meeting, and we get to, we have a bit of fun with them. We get to the second part of our action meeting, which is going, and now this is all electronic, by the way, but in those days it was manual. Get to that second part where I asked for any unconditional transactions that have occurred in the last week so he goes and brings out 3 folders and puts them on the desk in those days, again, lovely yellow manila folders. And I open up the first one and I said, let's give this person a call and we'll ask them prospecting question number 1. And he looks at me and goes, I'm not giving her a call. She's a good friend of mine, and I was at her house on the weekend at a barbecue. So if she knew anybody, I said, listen. So I went absolutely berserk. I won't do it for you now because some of your listeners might be offended, but I just went off my nut, and then I went about my car and I hit a wombat, and you asked me to come up here in 6 hours. If you ever seen a mad bloody leb jumping on a desk, a little short-ass leb like me. Anyway, eventually he's gone, all right, I'll give her a call. So he calls her up and he goes, g'day love, just giving you a call. I forgot to ask you on the weekend, do you know of anybody who's buying, selling, renting? He was very nonchalant about it. It was not going to work. And 9 times out of 10 people do what we talked about earlier. Walk into a shop, can I help you? No thanks, I'm just looking. But with that, I jumped up, put my hand around his mouth, and she said no. I had the phone I could hit. She said, no, I don't. And there was this silence for 3 or 4 seconds, and she's gone, are you still there? And I took my hand off his mouth, and she's gone, do you sell acreage? And there was just this starting process. If you give people time to think, like to give you an example, how do you get a no out of a yes out of a no? I'll ask you a question, Samantha. Would you be offended if I asked you a question, Samantha?
No.
That's a yes. And so I got a yes from you. I can ask you a question. And so most people will say no very quickly. And so she did. But all of a sudden she had time to think. So he now takes his feet off the desk. He's leaning forward. His face is red. He's starting to write down this information. She's had more time to think. And do you actually, look, actually some friends of mine have lost their job because of the closure of a local airline here, and they're moving back to Sydney. Would you like me to put you in touch with them? So now he's got 2 people out of his so-called friend that would have told him on Saturday. He hangs up the phone, terribly red-faced. I mean, most agents, when they go, oh, do you know if anybody's thinking of buying, selling, renting, people go, no, it's okay, thanks, I hang up. Okay. See, it doesn't work, mate. Anyway, he's red-faced, and I said, listen, you'll need to call her back. He said, what are you talking about? I said, you didn't ask a prospecting question number 2. I said, I'm not calling her back. She'll think I'm a dickhead. That's exactly what he said. I said, listen, mate, you want me to go over my bloody car and the wombat, and you want me to get, and you go, all right, I'll give her a call. So he calls her back, and it's exactly what he said to her. He said, darling, you probably think I'm a dickhead, but what else is happening in your street? That famous question. And as true as I'm talking to you right now, Samantha, she said, I thought you knew. The girl across the road who inherited the property 12 months ago is ready to sell. She's a good friend of mine. Let me put you in touch with her. He listed and sold 2 out of those 3 properties. It's a true story, and it's from a principal who was not even prepared to call somebody because he thought he'd be wasting his time. And I think that voice-to-voice with the right questions asked and that moments of silence can give you such an incredible result. And why not? You're the hero. When a property becomes unconditional or settled, you should be as the agent running a housewarming party for these people. You should be preparing the housewarming cards. You should be getting the balloons. You should be organising a couple of $100 on Nibblies, because when you go to that housewarming party, who's the hero? Me. I go to house and they go, what's your Chaz? Oh, you're Chaz. Oh, yeah, no, blah, blah, blah. And if you go into South Penrith where I operated, there's a certain little type of pine tree that I used to plant as a gift for people near their mailbox. And I could take you past homes today that those pine trees have grown, and I knew I listed and sold those homes. And it's those little things that I think make a big difference. The small things make a big impact. And the agents today need to start remembering that we are in a business of communicating with people, and that they should maintain that communication, ask the right questions, take time to listen to give people time to think so that they can answer you effectively, and real estate becomes very easy.